In the treasure trove of Greek mythology, the story of Achilles has long been celebrated as an epic of heroism tinged with tragedy, where cruel fate always looms. Known for his unparalleled strength and fatal weakness in his heel, Achilles' traditional tale often ends in death, a reminder that even the greatest heroes cannot escape human fragility. But what if his story didn't end there? What if the arrow that struck his heel was not the end, but the beginning of a journey of redemption, transformation, and the pursuit of immortality? In Part 1, The Origin and the Secret Pact, we reveal the untold story behind Achilles' heel. His weakness was not accidental, but the result of a secret pact between his mother, the goddess Thetis, and the god Apollo. To protect her son, Thetis begged Apollo to grant Achilles near absolute strength, in exchange for him bearing a single weakness, his heel, as a mark of his bond with the gods. This pact laid the foundation for Achilles' legendary life, but also set the stage for the challenges ahead. In Part 2, The Secret Revealed by Patroclus, we introduce Patroclus, a loyal warrior who accidentally discovers Achilles' weakness during a battle before Troy. Instead of exploiting it, Patroclus vows to protect Achilles, becoming his closest friend. Together, they face the brutal war, with Patroclus always keeping Achilles' secret. But as the war at Troy escalates, the gods' schemes begin to unfold, and Apollo's role in Achilles' fate becomes increasingly mysterious. Now in Part 3, Redemption, Trials, and Immortality, the story reaches its climax. Achilles falls at Troy, struck by an arrow guided by Apollo. But death is not the end. Moved by Achilles' courage and compassion, Apollo grants him a chance at redemption through 3 divine trials, testing his strength, loyalty, and humility. With the support of Patroclus and Thetis' love, Achilles faces these fateful tests, aiming to transcend his human limits and join the ranks of the gods. His heel, once his fatal weakness, now becomes the key to his ascension. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. You could be the first to witness Hercules, Odysseus, or even the Olympian gods in their never-before-seen journeys. Together, we will explore the world of mythology from a completely new perspective. Subscribe now and become part of our community of Greek mythology enthusiasts. Part 3. Redemption, Trials, and Immortality. The war at Troy had reached its zenith, a maelstrom of ichor, glory, and divine machinations that would echo through the ages. Achilles, the greatest warrior of the Greeks, stood at the heart of the conflict, his name synonymous with terror and triumph. Beside him, ever loyal, was Patroclus, his closest friend and the guardian of his secret, the vulnerability of his heel, the mark of the pact between Thetis and Apollo. The Greeks, bolstered by Achilles' prowess, had pushed the Trojans to the brink of defeat, but the gods, ever meddling, had other plans. Apollo, the god of prophecy, had watched Achilles' rise with a mixture of fascination and calculation, waiting for the moment to fulfill the terms of his pact with Thetis. That moment had arrived, and with it, the destiny of Achilles would be forged anew, not in death, but in a redemption that would elevate him beyond mortality. The battle that would decide Achilles' fate began on a day shrouded in omens. Dark clouds gathered over the Trojan plain, and the cries of ravens echoed through the air, as if the underworld itself sensed the impending clash of fates. Achilles, clad in his divine armor forged by Hephaestus, led the Myrmidons in a relentless assault on the Trojan gates. Hector, the mightiest of Troy's defenders, had fallen by Achilles' hand, and the city's defenses were crumbling. But Paris, prince of Troy and beloved of Apollo, remained, his heart burning with vengeance for his brother's death. Patroclus, ever vigilant, fought at Achilles' side, his eyes scanning the battlefield for any threat to his friend's heel. He had grown adept at anticipating danger, positioning himself to deflect arrows and shield Achilles from unseen foes. But this day was different. Patroclus felt a chill in the air, a sense of foreboding that he could not shake. He glanced at Achilles, whose face was alight with the fire of battle, and whispered a silent prayer to the gods for his safety. High above, Apollo watched from the clouds, his golden bow in hand. The time had come to test the pact he had made with Thetis. He saw Paris, crouched behind a shattered wall, his bow drawn, his eyes fixed on Achilles.
Apollo descended, invisible to mortal eyes, and whispered into Paris's mind, guiding his aim. "Strike true, Prince of Troy." Apollo murmured, his voice like the rustle of leaves in a storm.
Aim for his heel, the secret of his strength. End the legend of Achilles, and bring glory to Troy. Paris loosed his arrow, its path guided by divine will. Patroclus, ever watchful, saw the glint of the arrowhead and shouted a warning, but it was too late. The arrow flew with unerring precision, striking Achilles' heel. Pain, unlike any he had ever known, erupted through his body, a searing agony that brought him to his knees. The Myrmidons cried out in horror as their invincible leader fell, ichor pooling around the injury. Patroclus rushed to his side, shielding him from further harm, his heart pounding with fear and despair. The Trojans, emboldened by Achilles' fall, surged forward, their cries of victory echoing across the battlefield. The Greeks, stunned, faltered, their morale shattered. Patroclus fought like a man possessed, driving back the enemy, but his eyes remained on Achilles, whose face was pale, his breathing labored. "Hold on, my friend," Patroclus whispered, tears streaming down his face. "You cannot fall. Not now, not ever." But as the light faded from Achilles' eyes, a strange calm descended upon him. He looked up at Patroclus, a faint smile on his lips. "You kept your promise, my brother," he said, his voice weak but resolute. "Do not grieve. This is not the end." And with those words, Achilles' body went still, his spirit slipping from the mortal world. The battlefield fell silent, the clash of steel replaced by an eerie stillness. The Greeks, believing their greatest hero dead, retreated to their ships, while the Trojans celebrated their apparent victory. But in the realm of the gods, the story was far from over. Apollo, standing over Achilles' fallen form, felt a flicker of something unexpected: admiration. He had orchestrated this moment to fulfill the pact, to remind Thetis and the mortal world of the gods' supremacy. Yet, as he gazed upon Achilles, he saw not just a warrior, but a man of profound compassion and courage. Achilles had fought not only for glory, but for his comrades, for honor, and for the ideals he held dear. Even in his final moments, he had not cursed the gods or begged for mercy, but had accepted his fate with dignity. Thetis, sensing her son's fall, descended from the sea in a tempest of grief and rage. She appeared on the battlefield, her divine form radiant with sorrow, and confronted Apollo. "You promised to protect him!" she cried, her voice shaking the heavens. "You swore he would be safe, and now he lies dead, struck down by your hand. Is this your idea of protection, god of prophecy?" Apollo raised a hand, his expression unreadable. "Calm yourself, Thetis. Your son's story is not yet finished. I struck him down, yes, but not to destroy him. I wished to test him, to see if he was truly worthy of the destiny you dreamed for him. And I see now that he is more than a mere hero. He is a soul worthy of redemption." Thetis, her anger giving way to confusion, stared at Apollo. "Redemption? What do you mean? He is dead, Apollo. There is no redemption for the dead." Apollo smiled, a rare, genuine smile that softened his divine features. "Not dead, Thetis, but transformed. I will give him a chance to prove his worth, to rise above the pact we made. If he succeeds, he will not only live, but become something greater, a god free of the weakness I imposed upon him." Thetis, though still wary, felt a spark of hope. "And if he fails? Then his soul will rest in Elysium, honored as a hero, but mortal no more," Apollo replied. "But I believe in him, Thetis, and you must believe as well." With a wave of his hand, Apollo summoned Achilles' spirit from the underworld, drawing it into a divine realm beyond the mortal plane, a place of light and shadow, where the trials of gods and heroes were forged. Achilles awoke, his body restored, but his heel still bearing the injury, a reminder of his vulnerability. He looked around, bewildered, and saw Apollo standing before him, his golden eyes gleaming with purpose. "Welcome, Achilles," Apollo said, his voice resonant with divine authority. "You have fallen, but you are not defeated.
I offer you a chance to rise, to prove your worth not as a mortal, but as a god. But the path will not be easy. You must face 3 trials, each designed to test a different aspect of your soul. Succeed, and you will be granted true immortality, your heel's weakness erased. Fail, and you will rest in honor but never ascend. Achilles, his spirit unbroken, squared his shoulders and met Apollo's gaze. I accept your challenge, god of prophecy. I will prove that I am more than my weakness, more than your pact. Lead me to your trials. The first trial, the trial of strength. Apollo led Achilles to a vast arena, its floor made of molten lava, its walls towering cliffs of obsidian. At the center stood a monstrous creature, a giant forged from stone and fire, its eyes blazing with infernal light. This is the trial of strength, Apollo declared. You must defeat this giant, but you will have no weapons, no armor. Use only your wits and your will. Achilles, stripped of his spear and shield, felt the heat of the lava beneath his feet, the injury in his heel throbbing with every step. The giant roared, its voice shaking the arena, and charged, its massive fists swinging like battering rams. Achilles dodged, his speed unmatched, but the giant's strength was overwhelming. Each blow that missed sent shockwaves through the ground, threatening to unbalance him. For a moment, Achilles was tempted to fight as he always had, with brute force, trusting in his divine strength. But he realized that this trial was not about physical power alone. He studied the giant, noting its lumbering movements, its reliance on sheer mass. An idea formed in his mind. He began to taunt the giant, drawing it toward the edge of the arena, where a narrow ledge overlooked a chasm of lava.
Come, beast, Achilles shouted, his voice defiant. Is this the best you can do?
It's the best. Enraged, the giant charged, its footsteps shaking the earth. At the last moment, Achilles leapt aside, and the giant, unable to stop, plummeted into the chasm, its roar of fury echoing as it was consumed by the flames. Achilles stood at the edge, breathing heavily, his heel aching but his spirit triumphant. Apollo appeared, nodding in approval. You have passed the trial of strength, not with brute force, but with cunning. But the next trial will test a different part of you. The second trial, the trial of loyalty. Apollo transported Achilles to a shadowy realm, a mirror of the mortal world, where the souls of the living flickered like candle flames. Before him stood Patroclus, trapped in a cage of thorns, his face etched with pain. This is the trial of loyalty, Apollo said. Your friend is in peril, caught in a dream of torment created by my power. You can save him, but doing so will cost you time and strength, delaying your path to immortality. Or you can leave him and proceed to the final trial. The choice is yours. Achilles looked at Patroclus, his heart tightening at the sight of his friend's suffering. Patroclus, who had shielded him, who had kept his secret, who had fought by his side through countless battles. To leave him would be to betray the very bond that had sustained Achilles through the war at Troy. Without hesitation, Achilles stepped forward. I will not abandon him, he said, his voice firm. Show me what I must do. Apollo gestured, and the cage of thorns grew tighter, its barbs dripping with poison. To free him, you must reach into the thorns and unlock the cage, but the poison will weaken you, perhaps even fatally. Are you willing to risk your chance at immortality for a mortal? Achilles did not hesitate. He plunged his hands into the thorns, ignoring the pain as the barbs tore at his flesh, the poison seeping into his veins. His heel, already injured, burned with agony, but he pushed forward, his fingers finding the lock and twisting it open. The cage dissolved, and Patroclus fell into his arms, his spirit restored. Achilles, Patroclus whispered, his voice weak but grateful. You came for me? Always, my brother, Achilles replied, helping him to his feet. As Patroclus's spirit returned to the mortal world, Achilles felt the poison sapping his strength, his vision blurring. But Apollo appeared, his hand glowing with divine light, and the poison was purged. You have passed the trial of loyalty, Apollo said, his voice tinged with respect.
You chose friendship over ambition, a rare virtue among heroes. But the final trial awaits, and it will be the hardest of all. The third trial, the trial of humility. Apollo led Achilles to a serene garden, its beauty a stark contrast to the trials before. At its center stood a mirror of polished silver, its surface reflecting not Achilles' face, but his life, every victory, every loss, every moment of pride and rage. This is the trial of humility, Apollo said. You must look into the mirror and see yourself as you truly are, not as the invincible hero, but as a man, flawed and mortal. You must kneel before me and acknowledge that your fate, your strength, your very existence is tied to the gods and to those you love. Only then will you be worthy of immortality. Achilles approached the mirror, his heart heavy. He saw himself as a child, brash and arrogant, believing himself untouchable. He saw the death of Hector, the rage that had consumed him, the pride that had led to Patroclus's death. And he saw Patroclus, the friend who had stood by him, who had seen his weakness and loved him still. For the first time, Achilles understood the truth. His strength was not his alone, but a gift of the gods, a legacy of his mother's love, and a testament to the loyalty of his friends. Tears welled in his eyes as he turned to Apollo and knelt, his head bowed. "I am not invincible," he said, his voice steady but humble. "My strength comes from the gods, from my mother, from Patroclus, from all those who have fought beside me. I am a man, flawed and mortal, but I strive to be more. I accept my fate, whatever it may be." Apollo, moved by Achilles' sincerity, extended his hand. "Rise, Achilles," he said, his voice warm with divine grace. "You have passed the trial of humility. You have seen yourself as you are and accepted it. You are worthy of the gift I now bestow, the ascension and the healing of the heel." From the heavens, Hephaestus, the god of the forge, descended, bearing a shimmering greave forged from the fires of his divine anvil and tempered in the waters of the Styx. "This is my gift to you, Achilles," Hephaestus said, his voice like the clang of hammer on steel. "A greave to protect your heel, to erase the weakness imposed upon you. Wear it, and you will be truly invincible." The greave was fastened to Achilles' heel, its divine metal merging with his flesh, sealing the injury and transforming his vulnerability into strength. Thetis, watching from afar, wept tears of joy, her heart swelling with pride. Apollo, his golden eyes gleaming, spoke the final words of the ritual. "Achilles, son of Thetis, hero of Troy, you have proven your worth through strength, loyalty, and humility. I elevate you now to the ranks of the divine, a lesser god, protector of warriors and symbol of courage, compassion, and resilience. Your heel, once your weakness, is now your greatest strength, a testament to your triumph over fate." Achilles felt the divine power coursing through him, his mortal form transcending into something greater. He looked down at the greave, its surface etched with symbols of the Styx and the sun, and knew that he was no longer bound by the pact, no longer a pawn of the gods, but a god in his own right, free to forge his own destiny. The legacy of Achilles. With his ascension complete, Achilles returned to the mortal world, not as a warrior, but as a divine guardian. The Greeks, mourning his death, were astonished to see him appear, radiant and godlike, his heel now protected by the divine greave. The Trojans, humbled by his presence, laid down their arms, and the war at Troy ended not in encouraged, but in awe of the divine. Patroclus, reunited with his friend, knelt before him, his eyes shining with pride. "You are a god, Achilles," he said, "but to me, you will always be my brother." Achilles smiled, lifting Patroclus to his feet. "And you, Patroclus, will always be my shield, my strength, my friend. I will watch over you and all warriors who fight with honor for as long as the world endures." Thetis, her heart at peace, returned to the sea, knowing that her son had achieved the destiny she dreamed of, not through invincibility, but through the trials that made him truly great. Apollo, his role in the pact fulfilled, ascended to Olympus, his curiosity about Achilles satisfied. He knew that the hero turned god would be a force for good, a reminder to the gods that even their schemes could be transcended by the strength of the human spirit. End of Part 3. Achilles, now a lesser god, took his place among the divine, his heel no longer a weakness but a symbol of his triumph over fate. His story, once a tale of tragedy, became a legend of redemption, a testament to the power of courage, loyalty, and humility. The greave on his heel, forged by Hephaestus and blessed by Apollo, shone as a beacon of hope, inspiring warriors through the ages to face their own vulnerabilities and rise above them. And so, the name of Achilles, once synonymous with tragedy, became synonymous with immortality, not just in body, but in spirit, forever etched in the annals of myth and memory. Achilles, now a lesser god, took his place among the divine, his heel no longer a weakness but a symbol of his triumph over fate. His story, once a tale of tragedy, became a legend of redemption, a testament to the power of courage, loyalty, and humility. The greave on his heel, forged by Hephaestus and blessed by Apollo, shone as a beacon of hope, inspiring warriors through the ages to face their own vulnerabilities and rise above them. And so, the name of Achilles, once synonymous with tragedy, became synonymous with immortality, not just in body, but in spirit, forever etched in the annals of myth and memory.